In what we are doing, we are looking after 10 state-owned vocational training centers. And we have state-funded training providers that are 22, and actively registered private training providers are 92. The total TVET program offered in Namibia is 446. And active training levy paying employers are 3,500. Let me talk about our mandate. Namibia Training Authority is mandated to manage and administer the TVET sector in Namibia on behalf of the government of Republic of Namibia. And the content of my presentation will be that one. And we are established by Section 4 of the TVET Act, 1 of 2008. Our mandate is to regulate the training provision of the vocational education and training in Namibia. And we are also mandated to provide funding to vocational education and training, and to provide the imposition of vocational education and training levy. So what's that mean? Our system different from yours, because we went to run TVET differently by we are running TVET into a fashion of partnership between the government and the private sector. So that's why we made a provision of that law, and the government devolved the power to NTA to administer the TVET education on behalf of the state. So our mandate now for funding, how do we get money to fund the training providers? We are getting money to fund the training providers by the partnership we are talking about. We have what is called the National Training Fund. The government pay its shares to the account of National Training Fund, and the employers that have the annual salary of 1 million a year contribute to that fund. And all that money goes to National Training Fund, and we use that fund to regulate, to administer then the TVET sector in Namibia. So, in short, that is our mandate. The status of the wholesale and retailers in Namibia. The country wholesale and retailers is recorded combined revenue of 19.6 billion in the first quarter of 2004. To you, South African, it sounds a bit lesser, but to us in our population, that is a good money. That is coming from the retailer sector only. It tells you how significant is retailer sector in Namibia, and of course also elsewhere in the globe. And it employs, this is provided by our statistics agents, it employs 1.2 million people. So it's representing the significant of 18% of the country workforce, which means roughly 2 of 10 employees or workers are employed in the retailer industry. So retailer, it's playing a very, very important role and a big role in our country. Now I want to share with you a bit of the retailer sector contribution toward the skills development. And this is their contribution in terms of funding, how they bring money in. They have contributed between 300 to 430 million 2021 to 2022 in the coffer of the levy. So the sector contribute almost 10.15 and 10.75 toward the training levy for 2021-2022. The challenge in the future of wholesale and retail landscape, it has said by many people here that digital transformation, increasing demand for e-commerce, and then limited digital infrastructures, challenge for logistics and deliveries, consumer expectation, demand for personalizing shopping, reference for convenience and fast service, and the global supply chain disruption. So it's also include the impact of geopolitical tensions and climate change, the volatile commodity pricing affecting cost and availabilities, adopt, in a skills development recommendation, we are looking at what has to be done is to adopt the micro-credential. Mastering of specific upskilling for the future of retailers. And then digital literacies, training for retailers on e-commerce platform and digital marketing, consumer services and relationship management, develop skills in customer experience and management, promote skills that enhance sense of ownership among employees. I'm saying that because if you, the people that are in a retailer employment, many of them, they lack ownership. You enter the shop, and some of them are very reluctant to provide or to provide the satisfactory services. Maybe what one need to do is to make sure that we create that kind of ownership to say, we must maybe give them incentive that they own shares in this business or they work for commissions. I don't know what's to be done. But mostly I have seen in a global south, more especially in our region, Namibia, South Africa, they are the same. But not to other countries, but here they are the same. Their moral is very low. We need to develop skills in custom care experience management, promote skills that enhance sense of ownership among employees, sustainability, knowledge, educating staff on sustainable business practice, and the customer expectation. Developing skills in productive life scale management and commercial awareness. And then the issue of technological adoption, training in using artificial intelligence, robotics, and smart retailer technology, cyber security, skill for managing retailer data and transaction, supply chain and logistic, skills in demand and forecasting, inventory management, and efficient distribution and logistic management. And we have talked about entrepreneurship and innovation, supporting entrepreneurial skills for local and retailers, encouraging innovation in retailer models, sensitive to a business environment, and the understanding skills. So I think I did not mess up the presentation because I'm too fast with this. But, well, we have talked about a digital transformation that has been talked by many speakers, and we needed to focus on it because that is the future of this industry. And I hope what we gather here to discuss this morning and this afternoon, it shall not just to end in here, but it must be recorded, and we must propose a necessary change that will support our young people and they create skills for the youth to make a difference and impact in this sector. That is the recommendation of the skills. I have been talking about it, and I want to always repeat the issue of adopt the micro-credential. We need to focus in what the industry need. We cannot only just train people on our own, but the industry must really speak to us. What is that we need? Rather than developing a course of a degree program for 3 years, but it does not really include the nitty-gritty that is the market requires. So, ladies and gentlemen, in short, that was my presentation to you. And Comrade Chairperson and CEO, I am pleased to submit that short presentation to the conference. I thank you.
Time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are progressing well, and thank you. We have caught up on our time. You may take your seat, Mr. Eric. I would like to invite on stage Mr. Kulekani Mkise, Mr. Yash Musa, Mr. Richard Kupan, and Mrs. Gugu Sima, so that they can join us on the panel. Thank you very much for the presentation. Can we have a bottle of water for our speaker, please? We are running out of chairs. Can we get an extra chair, please? Whilst I'm waiting for a chair, as you have presented the challenges in the future retail landscape and trends, thank you, Mpatuwa. As you have presented the future retail landscape, trends and skills development recommendations, I firstly want to ask Mr. Kulekani Mkize, what are the most significant challenges the retail industry is currently facing, and how do you anticipate these challenges evolving in the next 5 years?
Maybe let me look at it in a supply chain and logistic perspective.
That's fine.
I think firstly one need to acknowledge that the role that the supply chain plays within the retail space is very critical and strategically positioned within all the businesses that are there. Because if we are not having supply chain as a strategy, then regardless of what we want to achieve as a business might not be obtained. And some of the challenges that we are faced as supply chain are not only at the operational level, but they are at the infrastructure level. I was having a discussion with Dr. Wrseta earlier as he was talking about territory, and I was saying to him, strategically, we are disadvantaged to operate in our neighboring countries because of the border issues. If you look at our custom processes at the border issues and comparing that with our competitor, now that we are looking at Temu and Shein as they are coming into our economy, their lead time is so quickly because they are doing things online. But for us to sell anything across the border takes us too many days because we've got border issues and they are not digitalized. And that is a big challenge that we are faced with as supply chain right now. And it's an issue that as South Africans or as Africans, we need to look into. When we look at the next 5 years, I can tell you that supply chain, particularly within the logistics space, there is quite a lot that has been done. The automation that is implemented in our distribution centers, it's so amazing. We are now focusing on a last mile process where we are saying, for us to serve our customers, we need to reduce our lead times. And for us to reduce our lead times, we need to use AI-driven systems that are going to connect us with customers so easily. There are a couple of systems that we are employing which looks at certain algorithms that are helping us to get closer to our customers. So if you look at our route optimization for customers that are within the Joburg area, it makes life easy to use these AI-generated systems to know exactly where to, when and how to get into a customer within a minimum time, and getting in contact with them, using simple technology and mobile communication like your WhatsApp, where they can track and trace the movement of their orders. So I'm basically saying, in terms of how we are covering the space and looking at the next 5 years, I think the retail business is in good hands when it comes to that, But the threat comes from, the new entrants. Your Temus that are coming in, they are bringing a lot of challenge to the industry. The Amazoners, they are coming in as well. They are bringing a lot of challenges. But we also need to acknowledge the work that has been done by checkers, as we observed. I mean, that 60-60 model, you saw on the video that they were busy with it during the COVID time. And they were already disrupted back then. But what they have done, they have led the way, where all other brick and mortar companies are now covering that space. And I think it is a good space that we all have to adapt into, but it has to be part of the strategy that the business has to adopt.
Okay. Just a follow-up, because you took the supply chain route. To what extent is the Namibian and Mozambique corridor disrupting the inland supply chain?
Not in a bad way for my counterpart. But I can tell you from Durban to Namibia, it takes about 4 days to get on the other side of the border, if everything is going well. The number of paper that is still processed at the border, it's as big as, this size. There's no systems that are integrated between the two companies to fasten the process. And that alone is a challenge, but possibly it's a government challenge, but who is it affecting? It's affecting the business. How much of businesses are interested in going across the board to operate? You talk about Pepco, you talk about Clicks, you talk about all other these businesses, they've got an interest to go and operate on the other side, but they are limited in terms of expanding their footprint because of the challenges that they face within the border process.
Are you finding it difficult, expensive, logistic-wise, to transact through our internal ports compared to Namibian ports and Mozambican ports?
So even, I won't necessarily be specific to Namibia and Mozambique, but if you look at all the cross borders that we have, there are ones that has improved their processes, but there are still those that are still behind. So the question is, the African Trade Agreement, does it look at the supply chain and improving the technology that is being used by these countries, especially the SADC countries, to improve the logistics that happens between those two countries? I mean, between those countries within the SADC. Because we are disadvantaged if Temu is going to take 1 or 2 days to deliver, but it's going to take us close to a week to deliver to a Zimbabwean store or a customer. And that's what you should be prioritizing right now. With the systems that we have, we can able to do that, but there are certain regulations that need to be reviewed.
Thank you. Mr. Musa, with the rise of e-commerce and digital transformation, what trends do you foresee dominating in the retail landscape, and how should traditional retail businesses adapt?
Thank you. In an e-commerce space, we're seeing that the value of e-commerce is that it provides democratization of retail. It means that it provides wider access, but at the same time it provides a step change in customer expectations. And I think the challenges that we're facing most is those step changes that are driven by the rapid increase and development of technology. And I really like the positioning of it. It's about the technology, but it's also about better understanding of the customer and data. And we're in that perfect world where we're getting extreme developments on all ends of those aspects. And customers are aware of it. It's in their faces. It's not just in the world of retail or in the world of e-commerce or logistics. It's in the world of social media, and it's in their everyday lives. So the awareness factor is extremely high, and that drives extreme shifts in customer expectations. And then added to that, there are these technologies that are being developed and coming through various sources in logistics as well as in AI and smart data. It puts a lot of pressure onto businesses because it's in the open and there's an expectation that businesses are using those things. and providing those solutions for consumers. So there's pressure on two ends. We believe that this is driving within the wholesale and retail sector. And I think that from our perspective, the challenges we have in the skills development space is the pace of it all. Employees that we have in our space today had been educated 3, 4, 5 years ago when nobody had heard about ChatGPT at all. And now it's something that we're asking these people to use in their everyday lives and to innovate and to develop ways of using them. So I think the rapid pace is where the skills development challenges come in. I think that's what we're seeing. The approach to solving for that is to be as aggressive in terms of adoption, to be open to using these technologies. But I think at the same time, it's ensuring that the technology itself doesn't solve for problems or doesn't create solutions. It's just a tool. So keeping customer centricity at mind, but using the tools to enable, I think, is where we see the opportunities.
Yeah, Mr. Musa, I just want to do a follow-up. From a take-a-lot perspective, point of view, you have engaged on digital initiatives that may have not gone right the way you wanted. What are the lessons or the takeaways that you would like to share with the industry experts here around engaging on new digital efforts?
I think we have a great culture of fail forward at takealot.com. It drives our innovation culture, which means that there's a constant learning, and as you learn, you also unlearn and you forget about things, and I think that's the culture that we've taken forward within Takealot, which is that with no understanding and no experience, no data, it's very difficult to make good decisions. We've been doing we've had hyper-personalization in our business since the very outset. So we've been fortunate enough in e-commerce that big data is inherent in part of the model. Customers log in and we have the information and we know exactly what they're purchasing at all points in time. And so we've been fortunate that we've been exposed to the world of data from the outset of our business, and so we have a good culture of understanding data. I think what we've been able to do then is our learnings most has been coming in our understanding of data, in being able to interpret behavior and being able to put those two together. I think those where the biggest learnings happen in our business, in different understandings of what consumers are, and also as you grow your business, as you get wider reach and you get more segments in, you learn more and more about those. So I think the biggest successes we have is by encouraging experimentation and research and innovation, and then encouraging failing forward with a learning mindset.
I like that concept. You must fail forward. Mr. Kupan, in your view, how can retailers leverage technology to enhance customer experience while maintaining personal interactions, and what innovations should they provide?
Thank you.
Or prioritize?
Thank you for the question. I think a starting point would be to examine the current landscape of how we do things. What's very important is to understand, and I like to make controversial statements because they provoke us to think. And I will make a controversial statement right now. I think ABIT has ran its course, and then we've renamed it AIT to make it sound politically correct. We have passed that stage. What we need to be looking at is basic computer skills that are vital elements into any business platform and format. So those are the sort of things we need to be looking at. In my opinion, basic computer skills have become just as important as a grade 12 certificate. As much as we embrace technology and use technological platform to draw data, in our business model, we believe that data is the new gold. That's the first component. The second component is we lack skills to analyze data effectively, because data is useless without analyzing it and making business decisions from the data that we extract. So although we're extracting that data that's giving us insight into consumer trends, we still need to have that personal relationship that's customer-centric. And we strive hard for that. If you look at the various social media platforms, digital platforms, they've become the new Hello Peter. If you look at when people are unhappy, they go to TikTok. you go to Facebook, you go to LinkedIn if you're looking for a contact person. So you need to draw data from those sort of platforms and still have a personal touch with your customers. And then those people that's engaging customers need to be customer-centric, need to have the right customer skills, and need to understand that data and these platforms need to have a proper follow-up to follow through our systems. In our organization, sorry to expand, I think it's relevant. When we look at a wholesale retail landscape, we fall into the trap of looking at only a retail store. There's a value chain of process that follows up until the point it gets to the retail store. And I'm expanding on that because we predominantly manufacture bakery ingredients into retail and industrial chains. So consumers eat about 1.6 billion loaves of bread a year. So a big component of the drive into retail sales comes from a bakery component. What we have done, we have harnessed virtual reality technology. We had one of our customers that's here in South Africa, and our HQ is in Belgium. So they did a baking of a product in Belgium. We used virtual reality technology, and our customer in South Africa, because they weren't available to come through, could actually see the product, taste the product, see the product, look at the formation of the product to see if it's in line with their requirements, and once they approved it, we brought that technology back into South Africa, and we made the product. And one more point I'd like to stress, that when we talk technologies, and there's a big focus on digitalization, we forget that there's also technologies in baking that is required. Government is regulating the amount of salt, government is regulating the amount of sugar that we use in recipes, and those are fundamental aspects that are required for a baking process to happen. So we find that we tweak other technologies to meet those needs. And where there's another gap that lies is we find that Checkers in 2022, they launched their first dark warehouse, where it's fully manned by robots. In 2023, Woolies followed after that. The courses that we should be teaching is robotics, because although we will not need pickers and packers in the future, we will need people to repair those robots when they break. We will need people to program those robots. And that is the sort of leveraging we need to use to embrace the digital era that we're entering into.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Sima, in your view, what are the essential skills that the retail workforce needs to develop to stay competitive? And how can educational institutions and businesses collaborate to address those skills gaps?
Thank you. I think throughout the day, all the previous speakers have had one commonalities where they indicate the kind of skills that are required in the sector. And some of the skills which I've noted, the e-commerce specialist or e-commerce, these the technologies that are disrupting the industry, and therefore there is a need for us to develop those kind of skills. Blockchain developers, the data warehouse, the previous speakers have mentioned the data that is there in the sector, and that data needs to be manipulated, and for us to ensure that we support the sector with the relevant skills as a SETA, at Wrseta, we therefore need to make sure that programs or qualifications that address those skills gaps are available. So those are some of the skills that I've noted. The retail operation entrepreneur, there was mainly a focus or emphasis on that. So those are some of the skills that I've noted for the sector. And the beauty of some of the qualifications or programs that have been mentioned, as a ICT SETA, we have already paved the way by developing the qualifications that are addressing this digital era. So you talk of blockchain, we've developed that qualification. Data science, we've developed a qualification. Technopreneur, digital literacy, we have developed those qualifications, and that will therefore make the life of the Wrseta colleagues easy to take those qualifications, build up on those qualifications, to specialize or come up with part qualification that will then specialize to the Wrseta. In terms of the model on how the SETA can work with business, I think the QCTO have already made a model for us whereby the requirement of developing qualification, it needs to involve the sector, the SETA, the government, the labor unions. So that model, it really assists us to ensure that all the qualifications that we are developing, they embed the relevant competencies or the skills that the industry requires, so that when we train these young folks, then we train them on the specific skills that are required, as opposed to training them or giving them skills that it's not going to be relevant for the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to allow the audience, if there are any two burning questions that the panel can address. In the absence of those questions, I just want one of the volunteers, one of the panelists to volunteer to answer the last question. Can you share an example of a successful strategies or case studies where retailers have effectively navigated modern challenges and trends, and what lessons can be learned from them? One of you can respond to that. You go.
Let the lady.
I think the story of Checkers, it's one great story for us together with the DSTV. As leaders being here from the retail, I think there's a lot that we can learn from them to ensure that we develop strategies for our different businesses.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much for your time. At this juncture, I would like to call upon... Oh. Thank you, sir. At this juncture, I would like to request that we stand, because this man that I'm about to call is a great man, and he does not like the spotlight, but umphathu wami. And I just need us to acknowledge him. He's no one else but Mr. Tom Konazi, Chief Executive Officer of the Wrseta. Thank you, Patiwab.
Thank you, Program Director. I really do not want to spend most of your time now, because we're towards the end of the program, but just to acknowledge the board, the management, the stakeholders for their time, and all other stakeholders that we have within our environment. And I think what has really happened in the last 2 days is that we really got to understand where is the landscape, where is the wholesale and retail sector is in relations to 4IR digital stage of where we are as a country. And I think that's important, because we now have got that understanding. But I think then the next challenge for all of us is that then what do we do? Really, our mandate is clear: it's skills development. We're supposed to facilitate that skills development, and we do that with our partners, which are institutions of learning, which are our employers, and we will not be able to do this without them. And I think the most important aspect here is that we all understood, what do you call? I mean, I had to learn a lot. What was the difference between omni-channel, e-commerce, I don't know, all these names that have been thrown around in this particular session, and I think that's very important. But I also think that the most important thing is that I was in China in July, and but before that, in 2019, I was there, and they were talking about the Belt and Road Initiative. And when I got there now, they were talking about Silk Road. And when I went back to check what Silk Road means, it means it was a network of how countries connect. And the etymology of the word actually came from the old connection between the East and the West. And in their presentation in all 4 colleges that I attended, they were talking about Silk Road, meaning cross-border e-commerce. And what was happening in that particular space is the fact that they took, to me, each college that I visited had 4 lecture rooms. And in those 4 lecture rooms, everything was related to what you are going to do in terms of the retail, in terms of the supply chain, as it's been indicated, e-commerce, how do you procure the stuff, how do you go through the borders, how do you take your stuff. So we've got then a challenge in this country in terms of how all of us from a wholesale and retail sector, we then put all this together, because it is important that how does TVET colleges respond? How do universities respond to this? How private providers respond? Community colleges respond? Us as government, QCTO respond on these particular issues. And that's really, really, really important. And I think from all the conversations that we've had today, I think we've got a little bit of a direction. And I think as a Wrseta, we will then put together a document that we will then want to share it back with our stakeholders so that we can therefore be able to say, how then do we move forward in order for us to deal with this challenge, which we want to turn it into an opportunity, but at a rapid pace than we've been doing things. Because that's, I think, where the issue is that we don't seem to be agile, flexible, adaptable enough to respond to these rapid challenges that we are facing currently. And I think we are, as a Wrseta, going to be soon producing that particular document and sharing it with you, and probably even asking for inputs from you so that we can then infuse this into our strategic plan as we move for the next 5 years as a Wrseta. Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to that engagement with ourselves. But also thank you to the Namibian Training Authority to share with us your challenges, because they are really, really important, and for us to share, because we are all in the same space. You know, when I'm in Namibia, I know that I'll use my rent. So we almost in the same kind of an environment. And thanks for sharing that insight in terms of what your landscape is. And I think let's continue that relationship, and let's continue to learn from each other. And I think that will then take us further as African countries. Thank you so much.
Whew. At least the plane is almost about to land, and I will finish my task. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, there are people that have to issue out statement of support. I would like to call the 3 of them at once: Mr. Ngobo, Mr. Dr. Mtetwa, and Mr. Apple. Mr. Ngobo from SACPO, Dr. Mtetwa from Director and Accounting Officer at KZN CET College, and Mr. Apple from SAC2. Within the remaining 3 minutes, I just want them to convey the message of support. Thank you, sir.
Program Director, thank you very much for the opportunity granted to deliver the statement of support on behalf of SACPO which is the South African Public College Organization, let me recognize the people who spoke before me, including my boss, the DDG. I'm not going to go further, but recognize the chairperson of the Wrseta and also the CEO, Mr. Mkwanazi. Chairpersons of the Wrseta Search Research, and also members of organized labor, representatives from universities and other higher education institutions. As I have been introduced, I am Tsepo Ngobo, the principal at Western TVET College, and also the Deputy Secretary General of SACPO. Now, SACPO plays a very important role in supporting and promoting success in the public TVET colleges across South Africa. We advocate the interest of colleges, fostering collaboration, resource sharing, while building strong relations with key stakeholders like the Wrseta industry and the DHET. As an organization, we want to congratulate Wrseta in organizing the 2024 research conference themed Embracing Digital Disruption and the Future of Work, paving a path to success in the wholesale and retail sector. The conference affirms the mission and vision of the Wrseta being to be the leader in skills development in this country, to develop a skilled, capable, competent, and professional workforce to transform the W&R sector. The conference comes at the right time in our country, just over 100 days of the Government of National Unity, whose priorities have been articulated by Mr. Mvalo. I won't go there. But of importance here is that the President of the country said that the GNU has decided to place inclusive economic growth at the center of the national agenda. It is my conviction that this conference addresses these national imperatives head on. The role of TVET College in embracing digital disruption. In the country that faces several unique challenges like South Africa, TVET colleges must play an active role in embracing digital disruption. The key word for me here, it is embracing. Now, artificial intelligence defines embracing, quote unquote. It is an act of accepting and supporting new ideas, perspectives and challenges, and seeing them as opportunities for growth. It can lead to personal growth, resilience, and greater sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, especially if you are a disruptor and you are not going to be disrupted. I see that I need to wrap up. But maybe fast forward, let us also indicate that as SACPO, we have taken initiatives in terms of research. We have already launched a research desk as SACPO with the University of KZN. We recently, in September this year, had an ICT conference with the University of South Africa, and this was also sponsored by the Wrseta in collaboration, of course, that we have. I'm not going to talk about the key findings of the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Report 2023, because part of the presentation that has been made by many speakers speaks to this, but of key importance in this is that e-commerce ranks #1 in terms of what we need to be doing as a country. And thank you, Wrseta, for sending TVET students to China who are currently studying on e-commerce, and we hope that when they come back, they can be able, to expand on this aspect. In conclusion, embracing digital disruption and the future of work, TVET colleges require a mindset shift, a willingness to learn, a commitment to innovate, actively participating in research initiatives like this one. TVET colleges can prepare students for the future workforce and support economic growth. Together, let us shape a future that is inclusive, innovative, and inspiring. I thank you all from the bottom of my debit cards by paying attention to the statement of support from SAPCO. I thank you.
Program Director, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to to recognize all esteemed attendees of this auspicious event by saying all protocol observed. I am running against time, and I had prepared some slides, and I have got only 3 minutes to finish this. I've short versioned this presentation by saying to all Wrseta from KZN, we are representing not only people from KZN, but also all the principals of city colleges in South Africa. And we hereby express our immense appreciation and support for the positive and very progressive disruption you have brought in city colleges. You are the pioneers and game changers in city space. You have not only started with digital transformation, you have started where we needed you most, infrastructure. And you have seen that for us to move to that level, we needed those. We needed all those facilities. I would want to say, when it comes to what you are doing, there are so many things that you have done. This is the skill center that is loading in the rural KZN of Umsinga. It's coming and loading. I want to show to you how you have transformed us. When you talk of digital, these are the labs. I mean, these are the labs. These are the sites with the labs. But not only that, you have also made sure that we have got solar. Our centers are running free of the grid, save only for connection in case there are challenges. So we really want to say our support, like my brother was saying, deep down from the bottom of our hearts, but also from the bottom of our credit cards or debit cards. Because you have made our centers to be centers where students would want to be there. You know, I once said to you, they say, wozofunda, wozofunda, wozofunda. That's what they are saying. Whereas before, we never had that. Now, this is what we have when we are saying we have got state-of-the-art lab centers, courtesy of Wrseta. So, as I'm running to a close, you have changed you have disrupted our thinking and of what we give. Because now what you see there are all what we are accredited for, courtesy of your disruptions in our life as Wrseta. Now, let me say, I want to close by saying, our greatest legendary president once said, after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. And I believe the journey we have traversed with Wrseta is exciting. It's something we're looking forward to. It's a marriage that I believe will see us throughout our lifetime. But I say, together we have traveled and conquered some hills, but there are still so many hills to climb. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I have the honor of being the last speaker, and I managed to eat into some of the time of the colleague who's just gone faster than me. I represent the Clothing and Textile Workers Union, SACTU, which is a bit of a misnomer. My trade union also operates in distribution, retail, agriculture, agro-processing, and other spaces. And I want to come and offer both a message of support, but also a couple of points of caution based on the kinds of concerns that come out of the workers' movement and the working class more generally. So I want to do two things. On the one hand, flag 5 key issues to think about rechange, and I'll do that quickly. And on the other hand, to do 5 broad issues for thinking about for the future. So on the 5 key issues for change, I want to flag the following. First, that colleagues have said it repeatedly, that unless we move quickly, change will define us. But what we want to do is define change. And that's the right approach. The first mover gets the opportunity to define the terms and shift and adjust. The question is, what are our terms? And I'd like to suggest our terms are not purely commercial. So what do we want to achieve? Surely it's not just commercial. Secondly, the change, it may be natural, but it's not always the same for scale and impact. So a firecracker you can put behind someone to get them to move, but nuclear energy can either produce electricity or it can destroy you. And digital disruption is not a firecracker, it's more like nuclear energy. So will we use it to power or will we use it to destroy? The third is that normally change, actually in human history, change goes slowly, not quickly, but we are now doing it quickly. So we lose the advantage of using time properly. We need to figure out how to use the time available. And I won't go into that at the moment, but when changes happen quickly, it often has massive implications that are only fixed in long term. We're dealing with one of those, climate collapse. That's 300 years in the making, and we'll deal with it for a lot longer. So what do we do with the time available to us? The fourth one. Change is not always beneficial in the short to the long term. So just because something represents disruption doesn't make it good. The question is, what do we need to do to it to make it good? And the fifth one is that institutions are important to mitigate and mediate and improve the effect of change on people. I'll wrap up shortly. So we need strong institutions going forward to make sure that disruption is good and not bad. So what are the 5 key elements I'm wrapping up? The 5 key elements, firstly, is to propose that going forward, we use social dialogue more intensely, we use collaboration more intensively. It's the bedrock of human society, and we should collaborate our way into the future. The second, that we should build and maintain the institutions we have, because institutions are the bulwark and the shapers of change, especially the worst implications of change. And each of us represents institutions. There are even risks to the private sector and its legitimacy as a social force if it manages this change badly. Third, we need to plan for the less sexy future. It looks sexy, but what if it's not? We tend to assume the best will happen, but what if it doesn't? Workers that we represent will be the consequences of bad change. And so we have ideas on what preparing for a less sexy future looks like, but effectively it's a future in which there may not be enough jobs and there may not be enough entrepreneurs. And that means thinking about poverty as an asset problem and not just a jobs problem. The fourth one, we must invest in skills development. The colleagues here are far more knowledgeable, but the work of the Wrseta is important, but so is inserting key fundamentally worker-centric approaches and worker-centric approaches, innovation labs for workers to adjust, to understand change early, and to adapt. The last one is that even our own constituency, trade unions, we will need to adapt and adjust. This is going to be hard, but we can and should and will play a fundamental role in shaping the adjustment in the future, and we can even do it with digital tools. We've got ideas for how to do it. It's going to be hard, but there's only one way to confront change, and that's head-on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this flight, Archon 2024, was scheduled to land at 4:30, and we are now sitting at 15:57, and we have landed the plane safely. Thank you very much. You have been a very good audience. You've been very good. You've accepted the preacher who suppressed his caller today. And but thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you very much. More so, let me manage my balance scorecard. Thank you very much to the Wrseta chairperson and the board members, to the Yeah, I know. I respect the command. And I am going to call you on stage. Mr. Shoba, my boss is commanding me to ask you to come and do the vote of thanks. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I think the task is very easy because I've got how many minutes? 22 minutes? 32 minutes. Now remember, we're supposed to knock off at 4:30. Now it's, yeah, so I'll try, but then to squeeze it in a very short space of time. We are taking this opportunity as a wholesale and Wrseta really to extend our gratitude of appreciation to all our strategic partners who made sure that this particular conference, it becomes a success. In the list of those strategic partners, we're talking about the leadership chair, we're talking about the universities of technology, we are also talking about the TVET, SACPO, and we also refer to our community education training colleges. To the NTA CEO and your team, thank you very much for the collaborations and the continuous support to the programs that we do as a Wrseta. Mphathi wami ngizokhuluma ngesizulu kancane uyangishayisa umfundisi uzongishayisa ngawe because the protocol, once you have spoken, I don't think I should have come and speak. But thank you very much, CEO, for really, going up to the governance, being the board, really to persuade them to approve budget for Dr. Machat and the team, really to put up this conference. Thank you on behalf of management and the staff of the Wrseta. To the chair of the board has always been visionary, and it all goes to you. The leadership, we really thank you very much. It's our second inaugural research conference, Dr. D, am I correct? It's the second conference. Our inaugural was last year. So yes, thank you very much for really supporting the conference in a second leg. To all our stakeholders, we really wish to appreciate from employers, training providers, and even individuals who are really supporters of the wholesale and the retail sector. All speakers that have shared the wisdom, the intellect. We have had a lot of terminologies, CEO, today, in a space of digital economy. You heard about, e-commerce, cross-border, and all what we had. So our task now as a Wrseta is to really take stock and come back and implement, because there's quite a lot of things that we are challenged as management that we must go and do in order to support the sector that we are responsible for. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shaba has done a very great job. Some of us over the weekends when we attend other services, we wait for a person like Mr. Shoba to do a vote of thanks, to say, when we are done here, please pass by our home. We've got some smaller nyana tea for you. This is a very important task for one to do. Ladies and gentlemen, for us as the Wrseta to improve, we have actually made a QR code for online survey. On your way out, please scan that QR code, review us, review this research conference, so that next time we will have it in the cloud. Angiti, we are disrupting. We may have it in the cloud with Elon Musk and them. We may have it in the universe. But ladies and gentlemen, by so saying, thank you very much and enjoy. Have a safe travel back home, and may God bless you. Lastly, I would like all the speakers from session 2, session 3. All of you, the panelists, even those who issued statements of support, the board chairperson, Wrseta CEO, Dr. Machat, to come on stage so that we can expand our portfolio of influence. Amen. Thank you.